There were fewer than a dozen passengers on today's Dallas to Calgary flight. Juan Lopez knows one reason. The Texan will be seeing his Canadian wife for the first time in 7 months. But with isolation, he won't be getting too close.
It's like 14 days, you got to kind of keep yourself separated with the mask on. And then I got a couple days before I have to go back to Texas and back to work.
But a new pilot project in Alberta holds some promise to fill the empty airport. Beginning in November, international passengers will have the option of taking a voluntary COVID test on arrival at Calgary's airport. And that has the potential to reduce the quarantine period from the mandatory 14 days down to as few as 2. Once a passenger tests negative, they can leave isolation, provided they agree to a second test in a week and follow guidelines.
So there will be appropriate controls to make sure that we are actually following people, understanding if they're becoming symptomatic and doing the appropriate thing of isolating them should they become symptomatic.
A recent study in Toronto of over 15,000 international passengers found 99% of them were negative for COVID. So struggling airlines are delighted at the idea of shortened isolation periods.
This pivot is a health and science-based approach that WestJet and indeed all Canadian aviation have been waiting for.
In self-isolation after a possible exposure to COVID himself, Premier Jason Kenney says it offers hope to people left jobless.
And behind every one of those jobs, there is a family who's facing uncertainty and a person who needs to pay their mortgage.
The testing study will also be available to people driving from the U.S. through the border crossing at Coutts, Alberta. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Calgary.